Our story begins in the rugged landscape of ancient Greece, in the fertile valley of Laconia, surrounded by the Taygetus and Parnon mountains. Here, the Eurotas River nourished the land, and 4 villages united to form Sparta. Not a walled city, but a collection of communities. The mountains provided natural defenses, allowing Sparta to develop in isolation, fostering a culture of self-reliance and independence. Early Spartans were farmers and herders, living simply and relying on the land. Unlike Athens or Corinth, Sparta's beginnings were humble, with little sign of the militaristic state it would become. Over time, the unique geography and isolation shaped a society that valued strength and resilience. The early history of Sparta is shrouded in myth, but archaeological evidence suggests it was once much like its neighbors, engaged in trade, art, and music. Yet, beneath this ordinary surface, the seeds of a unique civilization were being sown. The settlers brought their own traditions, dialect, and gods, blending with local customs to create something new. The transformation from rural villages to a dominant military power was gradual, driven by necessity and ambition. Sparta's journey was marked by radical social change, setting it apart from all other Greek city-states. The land itself demanded a hardy spirit, shaping the destiny of those who called it home. The founders of Sparta were Dorians, one of the major Greek ethnic groups who migrated into the Peloponnese after the fall of the Mycenaean civilization. They brought iron weapons, a new dialect, and a narrative of conquest, claiming descent from Heracles to justify their rule. The Dorians established dominance over the local population, dividing land among themselves and creating a class of citizen landowners. This new society was built on a sense of inherited superiority and a clear distinction between conquerors and conquered. The need to control a large, potentially hostile population forced the Dorians to develop a highly organized, militarized society. Constant vigilance and readiness for rebellion became central to Spartan life, laying the groundwork for their legendary military culture. The Dorian legacy established Sparta as a ruling elite and set the stage for its transformation into an ancient superpower. Early Sparta was an agricultural society, its wealth rooted in the fertile Laconian plain. Each Spartiate received a plot of land or kleros to support his family, but Spartans themselves did not farm. Instead, they relied on the Helots, a vast population of state-owned serfs descended from the conquered locals. The Helots worked the land and gave much of their harvest to their Spartan overlords, enabling the Spartiates to focus solely on military training. The Helots outnumbered Spartans by as much as 10 to 1, creating constant fear of revolt. To maintain control, Spartans institutionalized terror, even declaring annual war on the Helots to keep them subdued. This brutal system powered the Spartan military machine, but also limited Sparta's ability to project power far from home. The entire social and military structure was a response to the challenge of controlling this massive enslaved workforce. Without the Helots, the Spartan way of life would have been impossible. Yet this dependence on oppression contained the seeds of Sparta's eventual decline. Spartan society was divided into 3 rigid classes: Spartiates, Perioeci, and Helots. At the top were the Spartiates, full citizens, descendants of the Dorian conquerors, trained from youth to be soldiers and political leaders. They held all political power and were forbidden from commerce or manual labor. The Perioeci, or dwellers around, were free but not citizens. They managed trade, crafts, and manufacturing, serving as a buffer between Spartans and the outside world. Perioeci could serve in the military but had no political rights. At the bottom were the Helots, state-owned serfs who worked the land and lived under constant threat and oppression. The secret police, the Crypteia, terrorized the Helots to prevent rebellion. This strict hierarchy supported a professional army of elite warriors, with each class playing a defined role. The system allowed Sparta to function efficiently as a military state, but made it inflexible and resistant to change. The chasm between classes was absolute, creating a society unlike any other in Greece. Spartan order depended on everyone knowing and never crossing their place. Sparta's government was a unique blend of monarchy, oligarchy, and limited democracy. 2 kings from separate royal families ruled simultaneously, mainly as military and religious leaders, but their power was checked by others. Real authority rested with the Gerousia, a council of elders including the kings and 28 men over 60, elected for life. The Jerusha prepared laws, could veto decisions and served as the highest court, even over the kings. The Apella, or citizen assembly, included all male Spartiates over 30. It elected officials and voted on proposals but could not debate or propose laws. The 5 ephors, elected annually, oversaw the kings, managed education, and held broad judicial powers. This system of checks and balances created remarkable stability and prevented tyranny. Power was carefully divided, ensuring no single group could dominate. The government's conservative nature reflected the values of discipline and order at the heart of Spartan society. This political structure endured for centuries, shaping Sparta's destiny. It was as much a product of necessity as of tradition. The Agoge was the heart of Spartan society, a brutal, state-run system that turned boys into elite warriors. At birth, only the strongest infants were allowed to live, the weak were left to die. At 7, boys left their families for communal barracks, enduring harsh discipline, minimal food, and constant physical challenges. They learned to steal, endure pain, and survive with little, all to build toughness and self-reliance. Education focused on obedience, teamwork, and military skills, not philosophy or the arts. Older boys were encouraged to dominate younger ones, fostering competition and aggression. At 20, a Spartan became a full-time soldier, still living in barracks and eating with his comrades. Only at 30 could he live at home, though he remained on active duty until 60. The Agoge produced men who valued the group over themselves and were utterly devoted to the state. It was more than a military academy. It was a system that shaped every aspect of Spartan life. Discipline, obedience, and the art of war were ingrained from the very beginning. Spartan life was defined by duty, discipline, and endurance. The highest honor was to die for Sparta. Cowardice was the greatest shame. Spartan mothers urged their sons to return with their shield or on it, victorious or dead. Individual desires were always secondary to the needs of the state. Spartans lived simply, rejecting luxury and wealth, believing these made men weak. Their speech was famously brief, laconic, and their lives were marked by uniformity and strict codes of conduct. Endurance was cultivated through hardship, making Spartans formidable in war and life. They were trained to withstand pain, hunger, and cold without complaint. This ethos created citizens who feared disgrace more than death and valued honor above all. The result was a society of the most disciplined and feared soldiers in the ancient world. Sparta's unique system transformed it into the dominant military power of the Peloponnese. The conquest of Messenia in the 8th century BCE doubled Sparta's resources and Helot population, fueling its military machine. Instead of direct rule, Sparta built the Peloponnesian League, a network of alliances that made it the leader of southern Greece. This coalition, backed by Spartan military might, allowed Sparta to command without conquering. The ultimate test came in the Peloponnesian War against Athens, a clash of 2 radically different societies. Years of brutal conflict pushed Sparta's endurance to the limit. With Persian aid, Sparta built a navy, defeated Athens, and emerged as the most powerful state in Greece. The victory was the culmination of centuries of discipline and social engineering. Sparta's system had been tested against its strongest rival, and prevailed. For a brief moment, Sparta stood at the pinnacle of Greek power. Sparta's dominance was brief, but its legacy endures. The image of the disciplined Spartan warrior, epitomized by Leonidas at Thermopylae, remains a symbol of courage and sacrifice. The Spartan phalanx set a standard for military discipline studied for centuries. Sparta's radical social experiment showed how a state could subordinate the individual to the collective. Philosophers have debated Sparta as both a model and a warning. Its rivalry with Athens shaped Greek history, offering a stark alternative to democracy and culture. Sparta's rigidity was its strength and its downfall, but its legend lives on. It stands as a testament to what a society can achieve when it dedicates itself entirely to a single purpose.